Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the West Haymarket JPA to order for March 25th, 2021. To my left is Council Member Tammy Ward. To my right is Regent Tim Clare, and I'm Mayor Lyrian Gaylor-Baird. We are the West Haymarket JPA. And a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the chamber. This meeting is subject to open meetings laws. The clerk will call each item on our agenda today, and staff will then come forward and present on that item, after which we will take public comment. Each speaker should state his or her name and address, and will be given 5 minutes to speak on each item. And with that, Casey, please call the first item.
Item 3, approval of the minutes from the JPA meeting held February 25th, 2021.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Ward, seconded by Claire. Any corrections or changes to the minutes? Okay, please call the roll.
Gaylor-Baird,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Claire. Item carried 3-0. Next item, item 4, approval of February 2021 payment register and review of the February 2021 expenditure reports.
Members of the JPA, David Young, Interim Finance Director, thank you for the opportunity to come today. In the summary of the payment register, a few things to call out. We did pay MTZ $18,785 and $3,875 to complete some concrete repair projects immediately adjacent to the arena. Those projects look good. We also paid $10,114.34 to Empire Fence to close off the old railroad bridge location access. That work looks good. $6,630 to BKD for our West Haymarket JPA audit. That is the final payment. $55,265 for the City Controller's Office annual maintenance for our festival lots. $214,310.50 to District Energy Corp. Of that, $151,944.80 will go back to the customers. $134,261.01 was paid to the JPA parking management contract. $26,035.92 paid to PBA for maintenance and repairs. And finally, $6,280.10 to DirecTV for the new DirecTV receiver at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Any questions for Mr. Young?
I've got a question concerning the payments to MTZ, specifically those for the front entrance. Is that anything that could be paid by the endowment that we set up at the Parks and Rec?
Let me check on that. If we would like to hold on that, approving that item today and push that to next
Well, we
month.
put a significant amount of money to deal with some of these. I just don't know if that's within the scope of what is able to be paid for. Do you know, Tom?
There is a note that says the payment was reimbursed to the JPA from the endowment. If that, I don't know if that's the same endowment.
So I actually believe that's what's happened,
That-
but I want to
okay.
verify.
Okay.
And I can report back.
Okay. And if that's the case, then no worries.
Okay. I just, that's what I understood it to be, but I wanted to
Okay.
verify.
And I have the same questions with regard to the payments on the festival lot and payments on Arena Drive, just to make sure that if we have those monies there to be used for this type of work, I just would think we'd want to use those.
Okay. I will check up and follow back up with the JPA.
Any other questions for David? Okay, seeing none, we would take public comment on this item, item number 4.
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. What was the matter with the PBA stoop?
My understanding, it was spalled concrete, and so they were repairing the concrete there.
They were what?
Repairing concrete just outside.
Okay. Was that damage from, or just wear and tear?
I believe it was weather.
Weather?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of maintenance were you doing at the bottom two?
I would ask Tom to come up and speak specifically to those items.
Okay.
Gene, I would have to go back and look at what it's
At the
broke out.
bottom two.
Right, and I'd have to go back and look and see
Oh,
what
okay.
we'd sent through. It's maintenance items. It may be, I know we had a plumbing contractor in to work on
What?
we had a plumbing contractor in to work on connections on some plumbing, so that may have been in this billing, but I can tell you more specifically what it was.
Okay. Did you have pipes that froze?
No, this would have been a connection on the pipes. The stuff's put together with what they call a Vitalic connection.
Okay.
And one of the 6-inch copper pipes had leaked. It's a very long run, it's very high up, and so we had a contractor in to work on making that connection so it didn't leak anymore. It has essentially antifreeze type stuff in it. It's part of our heating and cooling system. And when that loop leaks, we don't want that to happen, so they were able to fix it. It was something we couldn't do in-house. We had a contractor come in and do it.
What was that last?
We couldn't do it in-house. We had a contractor come in and do
Oh,
it.
okay. And do you have a special person who does that, or do you?
We do. We have maintenance people that are very good at it, and if they can't do it, we can do most of it, but we occasionally have to bring a contractor in.
Okay. And, I guess that's all I have for that. There was not too much. Are they covering the PBA in this part, or is that another? Is this a PBA time question, or is that in another area?
All of this is dealing with PBA.
Okay, so, where, have you gotten the 2 million for the PBA? Or is that in here, or not in here?
I believe it books on next month's payment, so. It's not in this income statement, correct?
Okay,
Correct.
but it's coming, or you have it, and you just haven't listed it, or what?
I believe it is coming.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
A promise, then.
Not from me, but from the government. So,
Yes, yes.
Jane,
They're the only benefactor at this time.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this item? All right. Seeing none, I would ask if there's any further discussion from the board. If not, can I please get a motion on item 4, the payment register?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ward, seconded by Claire. Please call the roll.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Motion carried, 3-0. Next item, item 5, WH 21-6, resolution to approve amendment number 1 to purchase agreement between the West Haymarket JPA and South Canopy LLC.
Good afternoon, Chris Connolly, City Law Department. In early 2019, the JPA concluded an agreement with WRK to purchase what we've been calling Block 2, which is one of the remaining empty lots in the JPA area. And there were numerous conditions with that agreement. They got to make payments for the approximately $1.5 million piece of property over the course of 3 years, which they have completed. And then there's other terms and conditions relating to the development and when it would be built out. And it originally called for them to be able to start with a building permit later this year in 2021, and that they would have foundation footings completed in spring of 2022. And if they did not meet these goals, these mileposts, then the JPA was able to purchase the property back at interest if they did not complete those steps on time. Since that time, WRK has approached us and has said that the pandemic has affected their business and their ability to get tenants. And so they asked about extending the time for them to be able to complete the project. And what, excuse me, what has been negotiated is essentially a 7-year extension. Some may say it's 8 because of the way the calendar works out. But the idea is that they would be given 7 years of additional time to actually begin the project. All the other terms and conditions would remain the same. The one other factor that has changed is that in the event that they do not meet all their milestones by June of 2029 at this point, then what would happen is the city, or excuse me, the JPA can take the property back again and pay them the original purchase price back, but no interest. And so, so there is motivation on their part to complete the project. We had lots of discussions internally with urban development on what they could see going forward as to how the JPA area would build out and on what kind of a schedule. And we felt that 7 years was a reasonable time frame to begin the project again. And so with that, this amendment number 1 that we are presenting to you, it reflects that. It would also include a new deed that would need to be executed that reflects the same terms about when the milestones have to be met and that sort of thing. So anyway, in any event, that's what we're proposing. We're asking for your approval, and if you have questions, be happy to take them.
I think Will's on the phone.
Yes, and we can let them talk or testify at the time, but I just wanted to see if there's any questions I can answer for you right now.
No. Why don't you have Will get on, if you could? Is that okay?
We will take testimony on this item, and it sounds like we have one of the parties involved zooming in. There he is, Will Scott. Over to you.
Good afternoon, members of JPA. Yes, I'm Will Scott. Address is 440 North 8th Street. So I'm a principal of WRK and also part of the South Canopy LLC. The reason for this request and extension is primarily just kind of the craziness of the pandemic and just the kind of many paradigm shifts that we're all facing. Our goal has always been, and again, mission driven, to enhance the district that we were lucky enough to be a part of, and continue. I think what's already really had a good start. Huddle. We'd love to see them continue to grow and their HQ to remain in Lincoln. And right now, from an office space standpoint, it's hard to tell if people will continue working from home or they'll need more office space or less. We do have a lot of money into this. Our motivation is to get a project going as soon as possible. But the last thing we want to do is hurry up and put something up that the city's not proud of, that maybe meets the general requirements, but falls far short of what this last parcel should be. So our goal is to enhance this kind of dynamic district and continue to add jobs, keep our talent here, and make it more attractive to others that would normally not look at Lincoln as a potential place to start a family. So with that, this extension, I'd love to answer any questions. Gives us time to try to create an iconic project.
Thank you, Will. I believe we have a question. Is it?
No, I don't have any questions other than I was just going to say I spoke with Will ahead of time. I talked to some other parties. I'm a big supporter of loyalty, And I believe in that if like a case in WRK where they've come forward and from the very start. In fact, I remember talking with Will considerably the night that of the election. We spent a long time talking about the development and what this thing could mean and be for Lincoln. And so I am in support of what they're doing and what's going on with the extension myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any questions? No. We would take further public testimony if there's anyone here who'd like to speak on this item number 5, the amendment number 1.
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. So why is there such a long time for this? Because a lot can happen between now and then.
That was a subject of discussion, what the length of time should be. But I think that urban development, which helps us a lot in making decisions on these kinds of things, felt that it was an appropriate amount of time for the area to recover in general and still give WRK an adequate opportunity to build the project.
What do they plan to do with it?
Well, there are certain conditions they have to build, and all this is laid out in the agreement and in the deed, but they still have to build a 100,000 square foot building, at least a 100,000 square foot building. And there are certain other kinds of amenities and things that are still required. It's just that it's all being extended out. And the JPA maintains its protections in that if they don't build it out on schedule, we can pull it back and pay them back their purchase price, and then the JPA could turn around and sell it again.
So in the meantime, the money just kind of is in limbo, huh?
No, we have the money.
You have?
They've paid the full purchase price.
Okay.
So the only thing left is for them to build the project according to the schedule.
Okay. Is that condos and apartments?
That will be part of it.
Part of it, okay. What will the city do with that? Like, nothing? Maintain it, or?
The city?
Yeah,
No, it would be privately owned property.
okay.
And
Did they get any money from the government for the pandemic?
I don't know if they did or
No?
not.
Okay. Well, the company has had trouble meeting their obligations before. Their tenants have not been happy with them. They have had lawsuits for not opening their books to their tenants. And I think there's reason to be skeptical about whether they'll follow through with this. This is a long time to give them.
The JPA has its protections built in, and they're the same protections that exist today.
As what? Protection of what?
The protections, the ability to pull the property back.
Back, yeah. In other words, though, it's not producing money or anything.
It's generating taxes.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it is owned by,
Them?
it is
Okay.
owned by WRK right now.
Okay, so you are getting taxes then?
Tax revenue is getting generated off of it now. When they build the development, it'll generate more taxes,
Right,
but it is generating taxes right now.
taxes at this time, okay. Let's see. So and you have this in writing, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Chris.
Are there any further folks who would like to testify on this item? Any further questions for staff? No? Okay. With that, please call the roll on this item. I'm sorry, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ward, seconded by Claire. Please call it roll.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Motion carried, 3-0. Next item, item 6, WH 21-7, resolution to waive all fees due under contracts for premium seats for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
Chris Connolly, City Law. The problem with the premium seats, and for the time being, I'm going to include in premium seats the suites, the loge boxes, and the club seats. Later on, you'll hear me separate those, but for the time being, I'll call all three of them the premium seats. These are premium seats that, of course, people own and use for various events. The suites and the loges can be there. People can use them for basketball games and concerts or other events. The club seats only for the concerts and other events. They do not have them for basketball. But in each of those cases, we've had concerns about people paying in large sums of money for seats that they can't use during the course of the pandemic. And so this became a source of discussion last summer. We've been struggling with how to deal with these situations. And so what we did as a sort of a policy matter was we started to not collect the fees on these particular seats because we felt like it wasn't fair to these people that they were being charged full amount for the seats and not getting any use out of them. We want to keep them as customers. They're very good customers, and we wanted to try and do something to try and help them out. And so that sort of informal policy went through the fall, but now that we're into this year, we felt like there was some need to sort of formalize a structure so that we can recognize the loyalty of these seat holders and to try and give them some kind of a break going forward with the hope that once we are able to open up in the entirety, that they'll be able to use them and we'll be able to start generating more revenues. So what we've done is we've got a proposal here really that covers both or all three of the kinds of seating. The first resolution here, 21-7, deals with premium seats, but for purposes of this resolution, premium seats just means the suites and the loge boxes. And in this resolution, we are committing to not collecting any more fees for the balance of this fiscal year, which would take us through August 31st, 2021. And then after that, that means they will not have to pay for a full year. And then we will begin to collect payments that are based on what their scheduled contract payments are, including any appropriate increases that would have been there, as though they had paid for 2021. So they do end up having to, again, not pay anything for this fiscal year. The suite and the loge box holders have been able to use them for basketball, so they've gotten a little bit of use out of it. It's not like the club seat holders who've gotten virtually no use at all. And so we are treating them a little bit differently there. So that's what 21-7 is about. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
All right, I don't see any questions. We'll take public comment on this item if anyone would like to come forward and speak on item 6.
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. So was this the city's idea, or was this a request by the patrons?
A little bit of both. There were patrons that were calling and asking about what was going to happen to the seats, expressing concern that they were paying money for something they didn't get to use.
Right.
But we were cognizant of it as staff, and so we tracked it as best we could, tried to make our best projections as to what we thought might happen with the arena in terms of when it might reopen, and we felt that this was the best arrangement.
So they will just be empty for the fiscal year?
No, if there's an opportunity for them to use the seats for the rest of this fiscal year, they will still be able to use them.
You rent them by the event then?
They'll operate basically under their old the contract as it is in terms of when they can use the seats. It's just that they won't have to pay any fees for them.
Okay. But you still have the contract, you just said you don't have to pay.
For this 1 year only.
Yeah, okay. And did anybody default?
I don't recall if anyone defaulted, no.
Okay,
There were some people that have, well, when we get to the club seats, some people, I think, may have sold club seats, but no one's defaulted.
have you had other requests for these seats that you could have rented them out?
I don't know that there was much of a market right now.
Or it?
We believe that the suites and the loges will have a good, strong market, no matter what. But in terms of, but selling the suites and the loges hasn't been that big of an issue anyway. The club seats are more difficult to market because they're more limited in how you can use them.
Or they, okay. How did they contract for the year by that?
They're usually multi-year agreements.
Multi.
They have different, and they get signed up, of course, at different times, and they have different lengths on them.
Okay, so they are locked in pretty much then?
Yes.
Okay. Can they break that if they wish?
There may be a termination clause. I don't recall how it reads.
Okay. So, that's going to hurt some of the PBA budget, right?
Yes, it's already had an impact, correct.
Okay. How much, 39, did you say? You said something after that, how much?
I just said it's an impact. I don't know what the dollar impact is right now.
Okay, so the fact that you got some government money will help that?
Correct.
Okay. Well, we'll just see what happens. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to testify on this item? All right, seeing none, I'd ask the board if you have any further discussion or questions for staff.
I'm going to abstain on this due to a conflict.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. I'd take a motion.
So moved.
Am I allowed to second it? If we have an abstention, I'll second it then. And so moved by Ward, seconded by Gaylor Baird. Please call the roll.
Gaylor Baird,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
and Claire
Abstain.
abstained. Motion carried, 2-0. Next item, item 7, WH 21-8, resolution to authorize staff to renegotiate all contracts for club seats.
Chris Connolly again, City Law. Okay, so now we're talking about just the club seats. And since these are more difficult to market, what we are proposing is that the price on the seats be rolled back to their original price of $750 per seat per year, and that they stay that way for the balance of whatever their contracts are. Now, many, if not most, of these seats will come up again in just a couple of years, so the price reduction won't have a huge impact on most of them. There are a handful of contracts that will run longer, maybe 5, 6, 7 years. But in talking with some of the staff here, we believe that, again, the financial impact on those few seats won't be that large, and we feel like it's a good way to help the customers get some use out of their seats. And so the contracts will be limited to 3 years, new ones. Any new ones would be limited to 3 years unless authorized by the treasurer. So you will be delegating a little bit of authority here to the treasurer to extend those beyond 3 years if people want them. And that's on a case-by-case basis. Some people will want 5 or 7 year agreements, others will only want 3-year agreements anyway. So having said that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions? No? Okay. We would take public comment on this item, item number 7, if anyone would like to testify.
Jane Kinsey with Watchdogs. So what was your contract before? How long? These are less desirable seats, is that right?
Well, They're not as expensive. I would say they're desirable, though. The terms they're differing terms. Everyone has, there's a
You
range.
negotiate that with each
Correct.
individual?
Correct.
And so you're calling this a renegotiation, or they called it?
Well, we're essentially offering them better terms, and we will do some sort of an amendment with each of the agreements to
Okay.
reflect this.
What did you sell them before?
Well, I guess I don't know where, each contract would have started out at something different because it depended on when they signed up. For certain, back in 2013, I think is where this initial $750 originated from. But then over the years, I think they started at a little bit higher and maybe went up. But anyway, we felt like it was appropriate to roll it back to these $750 levels,
To what?
to the $750 per seat per year level.
Okay. Did anybody default?
I don't believe anyone defaulted. There may have been some that did not renew.
Okay. And you're going to negotiate for 7 years, or how long?
That'll be, for new contracts, they will be limited to 3 years
3 years.
unless the treasurer authorizes it to go longer than that, and that would be on an individual
Okay.
basis.
And what had they been before?
They've been 5 years, 7 years.
Okay. Is there a reason for just 3 years?
I think we wanted to have the opportunity to make some adjustments down the road.
Okay.
And so by doing this, it gives everyone, and if people want to get in for a shorter period of time, this is an opportunity for them.
Okay. So these are flexible with each party that wants them, is that what you're saying?
When you say they're flexible, I don't know what that means.
Well, if I wanted one for 3 years, the person next to me or close to me could get one for longer time?
If the treasurer approves it.
The city treasurer?
Yes, but it's actually the JPA treasurer, which in this case is the finance director for the city.
Oh, okay. So the finance director will have to do all of these separately?
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
There is a staff member who keeps track of the contracts, but it depends on what each customer wants to do.
okay. Do you think this happened because of the pandemic, or people just weren't interested?
I think the pandemic had a big effect on
Had
it.
something to do with it? Did you find people wanting out of these contracts because they just didn't want to renew them, or this was a good time to talk about getting out with the pandemic, or?
For those who chose not to renew, I don't know what their reasons were, whether it was because of the pandemic and it was just a good time for them to decide not to renew, or whether they just didn't
Okay.
feel like
So
doing
they
it.
didn't give you any excuse or reason?
I'm not aware of them.
Okay.
Others that may have dealt with them directly might know that.
Who would that be?
That could be someone in the finance department, and it could be Tom Lorenz also.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this item? Seeing none, any further discussion of the board? Okay, I would entertain a motion on item 7.
So moved.
Moved by Ward, second by Claire. Please call the roll.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
Item carried 3-0. The next meeting date will be Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 2:30 PM here in council chambers.
Okay. And do you have another item for us, or?
Just a quick clarification. We did receive the $2 million of stabilization funds this month, and that has been booked, and I clarified that. So,
And that'll show up on reports?
yes, it's included in the finance
Okay.
package. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ward, seconded by Claire. Please call the roll.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Claire?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.